Welcome to the One Shot Effect podcast. This is episode 12. Today I'm joined with Dasha Wellness. Thank you for being here. We've had a conversation before, and so I think it's nice to ease into the podcast, and it's such a privilege to have you on. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. It's really cool to be here.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about your journey. What is Dasha Wellness, and how did the name and brand and what it is today come about?
Yeah, so Dasha Wellness is it's a product of, or it's a byproduct of my lifestyle, and what it is that I believe wellness is made up of. My own personal journey has been a mixture of, I'm Aries, so I'm all extremes. Also extremely passionate. So pardon me if I do ramble in certain topics, but. Yeah, Dasha Wellness is all things holistic living. I used to be a wellness coach, a lifestyle coach. I'd had a little wellness center where I trained with women, took them on their mental, physical journey, and that also had an effect on my own wellness journey with myself. We learn as we teach others, and we grow together. I straddled the events industry for a bit, so I incorporate retreats into Dasha Wellness, and it's turned into all things holistic. So it's natural supplements, it's superfood, it's skincare, it's wellness days, retreats, it's community, and that for me is my biggest mission, is to not even create a community, but to grow on all of the people that plug into what holistic wellness is from all the different facets.
Yeah, it's quite a holistic thing, I guess.
Yeah, pardon the pun.
And I suppose you've met a lot of people, and it actually really reminds me of this one quote. It's like, I reach my higher purpose by trusting other people's higher purposes.
I love
it's like
that.
all these other people that you interact with have to play their role. They may have to grow the whole foods at the best of their ability to give you the ingredients or products that you have. But it's everybody has to work in alignment holistically. And what has that process been like for you in just collaborating, and maybe from ideation? Like, was it just you alone who came up with the ideas that have led to where we are?
Wow, that's a great question, and the answer is multifaceted, because I've met amazing, inspiring people along the way. So much almost to a point where it's like, what am I doing? I have no idea what I'm doing, because these people are amazing. So it's been a journey of being like, yeah, I got this, and I'm loving what I'm doing, to very humbling, to growing again. So it has not been a linear journey at all. The skincare CBD side of things is a direct result of working in symbiosis with my family, because my family's in the CBD industry. So there's a lot of cross-pollination that comes into play. The wellness days is never me in isolation. It's always, hey, let's draw on this expert's opinion, or let her give a workshop or a talk, or the most amazing yoga teachers, or just whatever it is. There's always room for collaboration, and that just makes everything just so much better.
Yeah, I think community is so important, and I think it's really amazing what you do for your communities. And yeah, what is your view of community, and your view of how important it is, and how community has maybe evolved in the digital era?
Yeah, it's also a good question. I think information itself in the digital era has become so much more available, and as a result, we've all become so much more interconnected. And it's a double-edged sword, because it can also make us, isolate into our little cave sometimes. But it's just made us that much more aware of what is out there, and how we can connect with other people. And it's helped me a lot. I can't imagine doing what I'm doing now 15, 20 years ago. I was born in the era of the internet. I can't imagine doing business before then. I don't know how they did it. I don't know how Pizza Hut delivered pizzas without maps. I don't know how they did it. They just got an address, and they were like, okay, cool, we're going to go there.
I suppose it was even more localized in those days. It's almost like people were delivering to their neighbors kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, or someone's making a pizza next door. Might as well put in another one. You know what I mean? Things like that.
Yeah.
How could we all be more considerate and more integrated with our communities?
Yeah, I think apps and platforms and like there's entire platforms that's literally dedicated to, cool, we're all like-minded people and let's do this thing together. You know, especially for women, I'm sure there's platforms for men as well, but for women to help each other through their different cycles, through navigating life because like there's this whole new era of like boss CEO woman, but how do we balance that with being a mom? How do we balance that with being all these other things that women are expected to be? And you know, it's like, so it's so easy to feel isolated in that. You know, similarly, men historically grew up, you know, eat some cement and harden up, you know, and you know, boys, big men don't cry, you know, all of that kind of stuff, where it's actually, that's not what it's about. So there are support systems that can help you, or help men and women similarly to, you know, to navigate those societal pressures and those hurdles and the internal dialogue that goes on. And 'cause, I mean, that's the biggest part. I mean, like wellness, more than anything, you can eat all the superfood you want and exercise as much as you want, but what goes on in here, that will dictate what goes on in our external environment more than anything else. The brain-gut connection is massive. It's so and community plays a really, really big role in that.
And what is your thoughts on parasites and the gut connection? I mean, I've heard some people say it's like sometimes it's the parasites talking. You know, or it's the craving.
Possibly, so. Yeah. I think, look, my perspective, I don't have all that much experience with parasites and all of that. But I know like a solid cleanse will probably get rid of them. I know that hormones play a huge role, or lack thereof. I also know that we can lack certain minerals and nutrients, which completely then depletes our serotonin. And, you know, if we have an underacting thyroid, for example, that will have a direct effect on our anxiety. And, you know, so our body is so much more than the sum of the parts. Every single little cog is not operating in isolation. And that's where health and medical fields in some ways have failed us in the past, because you'll get a certain specialist that will focus on one area, and he'll go, okay, cool, this is your heart, and this is all I'm looking at, but he's not looking at what is affected by it, and vice versa. Same goes for your gut, for your brain, for your central nervous system, because it's all connected. I mean, when you speak consciousness, we say we're all connected with nature, because we are. We literally come from nature, and nature comes from us. The same works in our bodies and with each other on an energetical level. It's
100%.
Yeah.
And I think it's really, are we treating the symptoms or are we treating the cause?
Bless you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's the thing. You know, a lot of the time we're given a Band-Aid and we're told, okay, cool, you have classic case scenario. At one stage of my journey with my own hormones, I had a GP who I actually have not walked into her office since this day, and I had said to her, these are my symptoms. I'm feeling tired. I'm depleted. I don't know what's going on. First thing she did is she put me on antidepressants, and I was like, I'm not depressed. This is not the what's going on here. And that's when I sat back and I thought, you know what, I'm not. I took the prescription and I literally tossed it away. So no, I'm dealing with this, on my own. And that's wanting to give a Band-Aid to rather treat the symptoms and not the underlying cause. The underlying cause is vitamin B is completely flatlined, and you know your hormones are all out of sync, or you know whatever it is. there's some really amazing DNA analysis tests that you can do where you can literally break down and look at every single little part of your body from cholesterol to thyroid to every single hormone. I mean, even for men, your magnesium levels, your whatever it is, and they will tell you exactly where your balance is or what percentages are what, and how can you actually fix that, because that's the underlying cause. And that's more important than anything else. I think there's such a an undervalue to the minerals and the trace elements that we should be consuming every day. I mean, it's so easy to calorie count or carbo or not carbo load or whatever fad is out there at the moment. It's so easy to track that, but it's more about the nutrition and what it is made up of.
100%. It would be so cool if we had a smart ring that could just measure all your nutrient levels. Or what do you think is the best way? The DNA analysis is, or how often should people be getting that? Should everyone be getting that? How accessible is it these days?
So I feel like a DNA analysis is the most foolproof way. And if you're generally a healthy person, and I would say, once a year just to test things, but if you're struggling, you've got issues, maybe, you've got severe obesity or IBS or, whatever it is, there's a condition or autoimmune disease, I would suggest at least every 6 months you do this, and then you work on your eating plan, your exercise regime, your lifestyle adjustments based on what that says, because that is... You don't get more factual and scientific than that. I mean, you can get a smartwatch that'll tell you what your heart rate is or whatever, but
What is the process of the DNA analysis, and how many times have you had it, and what's been your experiences?
So DNA analysis, there's 2 different types. You can get a blood test, that'll tell you everything. You can also get a saliva swab, which works similar to a COVID test. You swab it in your mouth. It's a little bit more restricted in what information you can get from it, but not everybody needs to know what DNA they inherited from their great-great-grandfather.
Sure.
So if you're looking for more superficial things, then that will definitely help. My experience with it was told me exactly what was lacking in my system and how that had an effect on all of the other organs, either over or under functioning, and why. It told me why I actually can't consume certain foods.
Wow.
Because I knew my body always had a reaction to it, but I never knew why. I just thought, okay, well, I'm not eating oil anymore because, I couldn't cook with oil. And that's because my body couldn't actually metabolize it. Why can't it metabolize it? So it's like a whole understanding the path of how each cell and organ and process works with each other within the body. That's the value in the DNA test. It's amazing.
100%. I definitely got to get one.
Watch the space, soon to come with Dasha Wellness.
Okay, lovely. So yet again, what has been your experience of it? So it's not that intrusive. It doesn't even have to be blood, like you said.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be blood, but for me, it's literally a little pinprick on the finger. You put it in between those 2 glass things.
Oh, okay.
It's not so bad.
But get it out of the way. I should do it.
Yeah, it's literally, it's like a ding, and then that's it. And you put it in between those 2, those 2 plastic things that they look under at the microscope. I don't know what the scientific word for it is. And you pop it in a courier bag and you send it off to them. And it's as simple as that. It gets delivered to your house, and then it gets...
you should send me a link or something.
Yeah.
Okay. And curious, maybe just what is the price point? Just kind of curious, what is the accessibility of this? How many people are getting this done?
So it varies. It's a relatively new-ish concept to South Africa. In the States and in Europe, obviously, it's way more available. Here, depending on how many different things you want to test for, that's how the price escalates.
Okay.
So it'll start at about 1,000 rand, and then it'll go up depending on, me. I needed to check for hormones because my mom had breast cancer, so I needed to make sure that, it's a big thing. And I also I'm very active, so I wanted to check, for a sportsman's physiological setup, what do I look like, and also just like general health. So yeah, there's a myriad different possibilities and things you can look for. It's quite exciting.
Yeah, that's so cool. And I think it really just speaks into the evolution of it's kind of this personal wellness journeys, and maybe it's just how it becomes more personable and personal. People have smart rings and smart watches. People track their sleep. People track their exercise every day. It's more and more like individual tracking. At the end of the day, it is good that we're tracking ourselves. You can't just wait till the doctor's checkup and then you gain 10 kgs. What's going on?
Yeah.
Or your blood sugar is this. I think we need to be, our mind-body connection needs to strengthen, and we need to really resonate with how does this food make me feel, and then like you say, having that DNA analysis to understand maybe that's why this food makes me feel that way, or maybe I can even predict, well, that certain food that I've never tried could give me this type of reaction, and not be so surprised. And it's ultimately about the journey of coming home to our bodies. So often we neglect our body's natural state of being. I don't know if you've ever had like that gut feeling where you're about to do something, you're like, ooh, I don't know about this, but you do it anyway for whatever reason. All of those small acts of essentially violating your body's boundaries, that has an effect on our cellular setup, molecular setup. And every time you do that, the ease of violating our body's boundaries gets easier and easier and easier. And it's so much so it's almost like a frog in boiling water, that whole theory. And next thing you know, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm suddenly obese, I'm tired all the time, or whatever it is. It doesn't have to be weight. It could be, why am I losing so much weight? My bones density is so thin all of a sudden. It's like, well, maybe it's because you're eating like this and you're drinking 16 cups of coffee a day, or whatever it is, But it's really just being in touch with your body and feeling things before they get worse, You're going to make a change when it's painful enough, when things have to get worse before they get better. But I think it's being more and more mindful, more and more connected to our bodies, that things don't have to be so painful to then for us to make a change.
Yeah, and sometimes it's not about going through pain. It's also just about letting go. Like, let go of whatever narrative it is that holds you back. Like, if you really think about what your limiting beliefs are, the irony is that generally the things that we want the most, we self-sabotage ourselves because we have these limiting beliefs against why we're not worthy of that, or why somehow we can't, that's unattainable, or... and that's all your brain creating this environment because it actually wants to create a safe space. So it'll rather sit in the comfort of what you know rather than go through the discomfort of actually evolving. And that for me is super fascinating. I totally geek out on all of that. Yeah, I hope that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess the question is, what do you think holds people back the most? I think, this fear of failure, this fear of success. There's like, what will the success cost me? If I am successful, how will my current life have to change? Yeah. How will my current identity have to change? Yeah. But I think there's even thoughts of, if I succeed, people will treat me different.
Yeah, I love that you included the fear of success in with the fear of failure, because a lot of the times it's not necessarily failure that we fear, it is success, because it's like, what if my friends judge me, or what if this happens, or what if I lose the success? Now I've built myself up to this thing, but now I've got so much more to lose, and now I need to uphold all of this. And, so it's a lot of the limiting beliefs, and we all have like certain traumas that sit in us. Even if we had like a by the book perfect childhood, there's always some sort of childhood trauma that creates these, belief systems inside of us, and these patterns, these habitual patterns that we continue. And those patterns, and they'll keep showing up until we actually deal with it and take it head on. And it's a process that unfortunately will probably never end, because once you get through one breakthrough, you have this huge like epiphany and you sort it out and it's like, okay, cool, I've got that now. Not doing this pattern anymore. Something else shows up because you're now suddenly capable of so much more.
Yeah, strengthening of our capacity is an interesting journey.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wanted to say that I think, doctors and just the medical system needs to be more personable. And I think it needs to integrate more with people's personal data. I mean, sure, the privacy concerns with this, but it's like even all the information that's in someone's phone could probably paint such a good medical picture. You spend 8 hours on your phone every day. Do you get enough sunlight? Do you exercise enough?
How's your neck feeling?
You're on Instagram all the time. Maybe you're craving connection, or even just, digital diagnosis, or just how much data we already have in our phones. Or, just how can the medical system be more personable and more personal? And I think it is, taking it into our own hands with DNA analysis and tracking our own data. For me, it's, whenever I'm at the gym, I will weigh myself and I will record that in an app called Happy Scale. And just like tracking things consistently. What's your thoughts and importance of data? And just how can we be more accountable with our patterns and our mistakes? Because we're all going to make mistakes. But how do we know if it becomes a pattern, or how do you keep yourself accountable? Yeah,
so I love apps and I'm all for it, but I'm also very old school.
Wow.
So I've got a journal, and I journal everything. Every single month I basically have a calendar for myself. And I go, okay, this is my follicular phase, this is when I'm ovulating, this is my luteal phase, and this is my bleed phase. And I literally structure my life around that. This is the foods that I should be eating, this is the exercise I should be doing, this is the type of work I should be doing during these types of phases. And that both goes for professional and personal work. For a female, I think that's very valuable. And you can also then track how you are. There are apps for it. I know there's Flow, there's Maya, there's Clue. There's so many different, cycle tracking apps that females can also use. And you can, your emotions, how you're feeling physically, what's your body feeling like? Are you weak on energy, whatever? And that will then, the algorithm will depict how you're going to probably be feeling in the next month. That is I think that's a super valuable way to keep track. For men, you guys are on a 24-hour cycle, whereas we're on a 28-day cycle. So it's a little bit easier for you. In fact, it's much easier for you. But there are men out there who, and it's a massive, massive thing, who actually don't produce enough testosterone. So the average male gets a testosterone kick every 15 to 20 minutes. Your testosterone levels get boosted. Testosterone is highest in the morning. It's also when cortisol is the highest. It's why you've got so much more energy in the morning. It's best time to exercise. It's also why libido is always highest in the morning. But for a lot of men, that isn't a thing. They're actually not producing enough testosterone, and that has an effect on body, it has an effect on brain, it has an effect on libido, or all of the different things. So if you were to track that and how that feels, what your body's going through each day, what are you eating? Are you eating things that support testosterone or not? Are you maybe eating things that boost estrogen, or what? Yeah. So I'm looking at particularly through a lens of hormones and physiological state right now, but that's just an example of how you can apply that to many other things in your life. If you are inclined to feeling depressive thoughts, or you're feeling super anxious, similarly, you can create an exact same calendar. Okay, cool. I may be more anxious on Mondays. Why? Is it because it's the start of the week? Maybe I drank a lot on the weekend. Maybe, why is this happening to me? And then you track it week after week after week, and you'll see the clues. You'll see the patterns. it's there. We have all of the answers here.
100%. What is your thoughts on Ozempic and these kind of new modern approaches at weight loss or approaches at appetite suppression, which I think is not like you said, it's not that root problem. You know, I mean, I've struggled with myself with obesity, and people often ask me, like, how did you lose the weight? And I'd say that's not the important part. The important part is how and why did I gain the weight?
Right.
You know, you need to go that step beyond. And I think as a wellness practitioner, you can relate. The ailment your client may first present is not always the final ailment. And what does that process look like? Maybe it's a multi-questions in one, but wherever you feel like going with the question.
It is a multi. So I'm trying to compartmentalize in my brain. I agree. There's a root cause of everything, and generally, I mean, I'm definitely generalizing here, but generally, any kind of anything that sits in the body, whether it's something that's obesity or arthritis or whatever it is, it's essentially it's forms of inflammation. Our body needs to store things, and that is it's a safety response to a lot of either emotional or psychological patterns, undergoings, whatever. I mean, yeah, there's so many different diagnoses we can have for the root causes of any kind of, I don't know, for an eating disorder or for a mental disorder, or, you know, there's certain things. An underactive thyroid or an overactive thyroid can lead to, in very extreme cases, schizophrenia, which is a wild concept. That's it. And I'm talking extreme cases. I mean, like, for years and years and years of your thyroid just like taking shots, and, you know, it starts out with, like, you know, maybe a little bit of anxiety, and then bipolar, and then full-blown schizophrenia. It can happen. And the Band-Aid or the whatever it would be is, okay, you need to go into a place where we can now assess your thoughts. And it's like, wait a minute, let's retract here. What is it's because once you fix the thoughts, then what? Your thyroid's still taking shots. You know, so yeah, I don't know if I'm answering your question properly. But that's, I mean, if we're speaking root causes versus outcomes versus, you know, in the whole journey of it, I mean, yeah, so as a multifaceted question, it's also a bit of a multifaceted response.
Yeah, no, it was a great response. It even leads me to one of my own ailments, as I have like quite tight hands, but I think a lot of people can relate just with typing a lot, and maybe just how much we use our hands in the modern world, driving, bicycles, weights, everything. Yeah. What is your thoughts on tightness in the hands, which I think has a big psychological element? It's a tenseness, it's maybe even a trauma response in some sense, that tightening up. Maybe it's a fist that's being formed, and I think it's, you know, our hands need to be able to do a fist and hold tension, but we also need to fully relax. And the question is, can we do those both? But maybe even CBD cream could be a good recommendation.
CBD cream, yeah. I would
Excuse
suggest.
our bird clock.
I think it's. Oh, is that a clock? I thought that was an actual bird. That is amazing.
So it's 12 different birds. This clock, so you can learn 12 different bird sounds.
Oh my gosh!
One for each hour, and then it even says the name there.
That is insane.
So your brain can learn the 12 different birds. Brain-bird connection. That's actually a cute gift.
I love that. Yeah, I love that so much.
That could be a good clip moment.
I like this house.
Your reaction to the bird clock. Wellness podcaster distracted by a bird clock.
100%. We could be sitting in a forest right now and I'll never even know.
Yeah, that actually would be cool, doing podcasts in the forest.
Oh, please can our next one be in the forest?
Yeah, let's do that. It's a good.
Getting grounded.
Because it's so doable, and I think about that a lot, especially through music. Like, I'm big into music and mantras and vibrations and things, and I think, okay, we're all good, just checking. And I think what matters is the environment in which you record, and I find it strange, like, people want to be in a fancy studio when it's like the fanciest studio to me is like nature, and like bringing a microphone out there. So that's something I want to explore more. But I mean, that's really all my YouTube channel has ever been, is like me in nature recording my thoughts, and it's really when I'm in that place of higher vibration that I want to share. And it's a beautiful thing, that impulse to share. And I think we must all be mindful of that, even if we're posting an Instagram story. It's a beautiful intention. If we're doing it, we want to share this good vibes. Or are we doing it to show off? Or just understanding our intentions? I always say you can have whatever you want in life, but you need to understand why you want what you want. If you want it because you want it, great. If you want it because others want it, less great. Or if you want it because, and it's all these stories. We think this is what a car represents. This is what it is. And it's just be mindful with the stories that we tell ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, a lot of the times we want certain things because we need to feel accepted, or we need that acknowledgement from whoever it is, our peer, our parents, our whatever it is. And generally that's a direct result of not getting that at a younger age. If you always, or only being noticed when you are doing well at school, getting good grades. Your parents only ever were like, oh, such a good kid, you got an A in this, but it's trip still for everything else that you're doing. And that triggers like a bit of an overachiever inside of us. So it makes you constantly want to get that A, because that's where the love came from. That's where that's where you were actually noticed. And so, which is also an interesting pattern.
Is that something you can relate to or speak into, and just like what does it mean to achieve, and what does success mean to you, and what's been your journey with success and achievement, and what really motivates you?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, it is a journey. I grew up very unique to anyone I know. My parents split when I was born. So I've got my stepdad and my mom, and then my biological father and my stepmom. And when we went to my biological father's house, it was a completely different environment from my mom's house. That's home. It's like totally chalk and cheese. Like, go to Dad and Tammy's house, and I didn't exist. There were 6 kids there. I didn't exist. Anytime I said something that, because the little kids are pulling my hair or they're stealing my stuff or whatever, it would be completely disregarded, and not even like, why are you even speaking up? Why are you even, and eventually that taught me to just keep quiet. Doesn't matter how much the other kids are acting out. If I say something about it, I get accused for acting out. So that small thing has had a massive role, which I'm learning in my older years, had a massive role on my ability to set boundaries, because, hey, this is my personal space. That's my stuff that you're taking, set those boundaries, but also the value of my own words and ability to speak up, because I was taught that even if you do speak up, it doesn't mean anything. So those small things, that's just one example of how those things impact, as a child, impact us in our older years. And if I take that theory or that situation into the realm of like success and achievement and all of that, I would say that specific instance probably put me at a bit of a disadvantage, because constantly whenever it comes time, like this sense of community and all of this that we've been talking about is one of my biggest passions. But the amount of times that I've been so terrified to speak up in situations where I'm surrounded by all of these community, like-minded community people, I've just put myself at a disadvantage. And I feel like I could have gotten so much further, so much faster, should I not have had that, I don't know, ingrained, I don't know what that is even, a limiting belief, that is what that is. So, yeah, I think, that combined with, on the complete flip side, my mom's house, I mean, bless her soul, she's an amazing, amazing human. I love you, Mom. But there was always like a kind of like a hypercritical situation where it's like, okay, cool, you've done great in all of these aspects, but what about this one? This one, like you got A in English, you got an A for this, but this one's a C. Why? Because I don't like math. I'm not a math person. But then I will be, instead of focusing on, all of the cool, great at public speaking, great at all of that in English, now it's like, okay, now I need to now suddenly focus on the things that I'm not good at to try to make that better, even though I've never used theorem of Pythagoras ever in my life. So the mental cycle of being like, okay, this is what's wrong with me, and so let's focus on that, rather than like, hey, this is the spaces where I'm thriving. Let's put energy there. Let's put energy there and make that grow, because that's where my forest of flowers is, not over there. That's a dead zone. So I hope that answers the question. I mean, I could go on about that because I totally geek out on all of that stuff.
Yeah, I think, it's a big part of, will it matter in 3 years? I mean, when you're stressing about that maths exam when you're in school and all that pressure, and some kids don't make it to the end of high school, and that's real.
Yeah.
I took a gap year in grade 11, where I dropped out of school halfway through grade 11. I didn't think I was going to go back, but I ended up just taking a 6 months break. But I think there's something so powerful about taking a break and coming back, as opposed to pushing, just like, I think some kids need to just take a slowdown. Like, what is another year, And bigger than that, it's like, I think kids do know what they want to learn. And I'm curious, what's your thoughts on how you were educated and how you could have been better educated, and how you see maybe the education system evolving, and your thoughts on maybe Waldorf type schooling or unschooling, or I mean, I think really children need to follow their curiosity, but they need to have the safe space to do so.
Yeah, completely. That's an amazing story, by the way. That's super inspiring. Like, I'll answer your question now, but I just like that, what you said now, that's pure testament to honor yourself. This is where I'm at. I'm not winning at this wherever I am in schooling right now. Just whoa for a moment and step back in. And I mean, I know that this, I've met you twice, but I think you're doing great. So schooling, it's interesting. This is a topic that's coming up a lot recently. My own schooling situation was a bit all over the place. I moved around a lot, really moved around a lot. So there was never really consistency. But what I did find interesting was the difference in schooling styles between public schools, private schools, schools in different areas. I mean, I did schools in South Africa, I did schools in the States, and it's all chalk and cheese. I personally feel that almost a Waldorf type system is what we are needing. I feel like our schooling systems are failing us in some ways, because it's a lot of it's propaganda, and it's a very one-sided approach of what history was and what our kids should be knowing, and it's just like, it's creating kids that are all the same, and we're not the same. If there's a kid that's happens to be a little bit louder than all the others in class, they immediately say, oh, he's a problem child, and they isolate him completely, and that actually makes it worse. Like, no, he's a little bit more active in class because he's not made to be sitting in a classroom. He's not like, that's not that's not where this kid thrives. So again, it's focusing on the problem instead of where his field of flowers can be. And and that's where I find beauty in Waldorf type schools and even homeschooling. Especially since the pandemic, homeschooling has become massive, and there's so many support systems out there for parents globally who's supporting their kids through homeschooling, supporting the social side of things as well, because that's always the biggest thing. Oh, how are they going to socialize? No, there is communities of kids that all get together, and they're still able to socialize. They're not going to be like little, I don't know, like bears hibernating all the time. That's not at all what it's about. And I think the most amazing stage in a kid's life is where its brain is like a sponge, and it absorbs everything that you throw at it. So that's the time when you should be really focusing on what makes this kid thrive. Like, you'll notice in the younger years what they thrive to do more. And it's important to grow on that.
Yeah.
For development, it's super important to grow on that.
What were your interests from a young age?
I've always been super active. I was playing soccer. I was the only girl on the boys' soccer team at one stage, so much so to the point where the school was like, we need to create a girls' team because this chick she's like a wild card. That was me, always outdoors. I loved flowers. Like, I was always like, everything was outside. Art. My mom was an artist, so everything was like creative things. As long as I'm outside, as long as I'm moving, that was me. And I mean, not much really has changed. There was a stage when I was a teenager that I wanted to be like the next Avril Lavigne, but I don't think that was ever a reality for me.
Maybe you just saw parts of yourself in her.
Yeah, definitely.
What was it like having a mom as an artist?
So much fun. I still actually have some of the projects that she did with us. I don't know where she would come up with these ideas, but all of a sudden she'd decide, okay, guys, today, because there were three kids, I was the youngest of three, and she would decide, okay, today we're making piggy banks. And she's got her balloons, and we'll make paper mache and egg cartons and all the paints and everything, and we'll spend the whole afternoon making piggy bank. I still have my piggy bank. It was one of the most fun things because it's tactile, and I'm a very tactile person, and and of course the ones that Mom did were always the prettiest. So yeah, it was amazing. It's connective, and like the beauty about that is that there's no wrong way to do it. So she enabled us to explore our creative flow and just let that. If I wanted to make a piggy bank with 2 legs, well, my pig has 2 legs, If I wanted a purple elephant instead of a pig, well, that's what it was, and she really empowered us to explore that, which I'm forever grateful for. She's amazing.
Oh, that's very beautiful. I can definitely relate to have some of my mom's art.
Yeah,
here.
Look at your house. It's incredible.
Here.
It's awesome.
Yeah, she's always also done like an art piece with like pretty much every one of her classes. So it does lead to an art-filled home. It's a very beautiful, special thing. Yeah, what is your thoughts on even just decorating a home and like the importance of art and the importance of creativity and like the importance of a good environment, and how does one create a good environment? Maybe meshing that, or so maybe some people aren't creative, it's not their art they will put up, or
Yeah, I mean, we're a product of our environments, aren't we? So I feel like art and plants, I mean, that's, if you walk into my house, that's all you see.
Nice.
I think the effect that it has on our central nervous system is massive. Plants also, like the amount of oxygen that they give off, it's so good for you. I feel like art is not only actually doing the art, it's a massive creative outlet, and it's an amazing dopamine kicker. Having art in the home it's not only easy on the eyes, but it creates an energy. One of my secret passions, not so secret, is interior design. I've been studying interior design for a while, and it's interesting how one of the main centerpieces is art, and that's the thing that brings a room together. It's the focal point, or it's whatever it is. I think art can be an emotional regulator. I mean, there's reasons why people walk through art galleries and you'll see them staring at a piece for like 20 minutes, lost, tears streaming down their face, and art has profound impact, and people see art in different ways, and that's okay. I mean, there's so many. I work a lot with Africa Burn, and one of the questions that they're always asking, is it art? And we're like, yeah, anything that an artist perceives as art is art. Who are you to judge what art is or isn't? I always banged heads with my art teacher at school, because he's like, yeah, but the lines aren't like this, and this is not realistic, and just, I'm like, but how can you grade based on what my creative flow is? Like, that's not. It's an interesting question. Yeah.
You mentioned Africa Burn. Is there anything more you could say about what is Africa Burn and what has been your experience of it?
Africa Burn is the biggest roller coaster, one of the most life-changing communities I've been a part of. It is the one and only job I've ever applied for, and I got it. So I worked full-time doing operations with Africa Burn for quite a few years, and then COVID hit. So I work with them part-time, doing permitting and on-site operations management, logistics, all of that. And it is, as an organization, it is the most beautiful group of misfits is the only word that can come to mind, because they are, and they just create this amazing thing. Like, all of them are so unique in their own right, and everything is so different, and they're guided by their 11 principles, which is like it's like the foundation that's above the law. Like, there's morals and values, there's the law, and then there's the 11 principles, and that's how Africa Burn runs themselves. Everybody is able to give input on everything. Everything is like, it's a big, beautiful beast, and it's very difficult to describe in one word or in one blah. So many people think that it's just an event in the desert, but it's not. It's so much more than that. It's it really can be a cult in extreme cases, because there's a lot of it's a lot of that. But
power dynamics.
Every organization in general has
ranks and has power dynamics.
To a certain degree. In order for the thing to actually work, there's a managing director, and there's executive directors. There's all of that. But
that's normal.
That's normal. That has to happen. Yeah, in order for the thing to work.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. No, nothing wrong with that. People think that it's just this once-off event in the desert, but it's not. It's a year-round, full-on. It's actually an NPO. More than anything, it's there for the art. It's there for the people. It's there for, and there's so much passion. I've never, ever, ever, ever been in an office where there's so much passion, and, with passion comes emotions is all over the place. It comes to some of the most beautiful work I've ever seen. It's just...
Wow, I can't wait to go.
Oh, no, you must go. You must definitely go.
What would be your advice for someone who's maybe wants to go for the first time, including me? What to bring?
Everything. Bring everything, including the kitchen sink. You're gonna need it. Well
gossip.
Yeah, I know it's a vibe.
What would you say your healthiest, and if you're willing to share, your unhealthiest habits are, or maybe how they have evolved? And yeah, what health things excite you, and what is that next priority? Okay, now once I've got this locked, it's the next thing. It's like, I think when you start from the basics, but there's obviously more advanced things that people can do. But I do think it is always about starting with how you eat, how you move, maybe even why you move.
Definitely why you move, yeah. There's a few different questions that was in there, so I'm just trying to...
Oh, yes. Whatever resonates, whatever falls out to you.
So you asked what my healthiest, healthy
Healthiest
and unhealthy.
If you're willing to share, if that resonates.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. I think it's
so. It's a bit of an accountability call out.
Definitely, yeah. Like for me, I mean, I can be a wellness coach and I can do all these things, but we all have unhealthy habits. I mean, I'm by no means like a picture of perfection. There's a lot going on. So for me, I mean, health, obviously, I mean, at the moment, I'm focusing on like the physiological and psychological, emotional side of health. I mean, from in the beginning days, I thought it was always like exercise, eat superfoods, and you'll be healthy. And that's so, like, I mean, that's definitely very important, but it's a very small portion of that. And I said in the very beginning of this podcast that I'm quite an extremist, so that perception of health led to quite a bit of a toxic cycle for myself, because it got to the point where if I was in an environment where I wasn't able to eat perfect or do that, my brain would like freak out. Go to someone's house and they serve me something that I don't think is so lekker, and I'm going, oh my god, this is like not like, what is it like? I'm like gonna need to go for 2 runs tomorrow, like you know what I mean? So it was like
When was that, or what is the timeline of that, and how has that evolved?
So that was my early 20s. So it's like 10 years ago. So it's evolved a lot since then. It took a lot of like looking at myself and going, okay, well, this is a toxic pattern, and how are you going to undo that? And that's when learning the balance, learning, all of that came into play over a series of, how many years. And then I started learning about the psychological side of health, all of the different pinnacles of health. I mean, health is even in our friendships, in our they say that you become like the 5 people you spend the most time with. So I had to look at my immediate friendship group and go, is this healthy? Are these dynamics healthy? Learning that some of the people that I hung out with, all they wanted to do was gossip. Like, this isn't healthy. That's like so not healthy. So through my health journey, I've lost a lot of friends, but I've also gained myself, and I've gained some solid humans, and those humans have stood. I've had friends for like 14 years, and they've stood through, and so that's one facet of it. And what's interesting about the journey of health is you're never the same person through all of these different cycles that you go through. I mean, our DNA itself is renewing itself every single year. Actually, I think it's like every 30 days or something, our DNA is literally renewing ourselves. Our skin cells are renewing themselves. So that's also why they say it takes 21 days to make a habit, because that is that habit settling in our DNA. And, it can be the big things. You talk about like what changes do you need to make, whatever. It can be the big things like, okay, cool, now I'm going to do this whole gym routine and this is going to be my thing, whatever it is. Or it can be like the small things. Why don't you just start with drinking a glass of warm lemon water first thing in the morning? Just start with that. Because for so many people, they look at this wellness journey and they go, this is a lot. There's no way I can do it all. I'm not doing it. Just like start. Everybody can drink, even if you don't have access to lemons, just drink a glass of warm water. Even just that has such an amazing effect on our digestive system. It balances our nervous system. It's amazing.
In the mornings?
In the morning, as you wake up, first thing. Just do that.
Tea, okay? Or
drink your water first.
okay.
Drink your water first thing in the morning, and do that for 2 weeks. Just that, and then you can start to add in. Okay, cool. Now I'm doing that. Now I can see how this feels. Maybe now I'll start, I don't know, waking up 30 minutes earlier. How does my body feel then? And then start, do that for the next 2 weeks until you feel ready to add on whatever the next thing is that you need to add on. It doesn't have to be a all or nothing. I mean, we're all at such different phases in our life, at different. There's so much going on. I mean, there's some people. I mean, there's a mom right now sitting there with kids hanging off of her. She hasn't slept the whole night. How is she supposed to now suddenly start a whole routine? But she can drink warm water first thing in the morning. And it's just about honoring where we're at, and just acknowledging this, coming home to this, and we can exercise as much as we want, we can eat whatever we want, but nothing looks as good as a regulated nervous system feels.
That's a really good quote. What are all your different products, and why do you have each product, and how do you use them for yourself?
So all of my products are a byproduct of what has changed my life. The supplements, for example, it's Scaletium, Moringa, vitamin B, ginseng. I've got a detox formula, a pure beauty formula, and a pH perfect skin formula. All 100% natural, ethically sourced, like amazing, the highest quality that I've been able to get my hands on. Magnesium is essential for rebuilding both cognitive tissue as well as physical tissue. Also helps a lot of other things in our system work and connect and. I mean, one of the things that I learned from my DNA test is my body uses so much magnesium, more than the average person. So I had to end up taking more magnesium than anyone else, or than your normal recommended daily allowance.
Oh, wow.
So magnesium changed my life. Same for vitamin B. Vitamin B is one of, if not the only vitamin that our body doesn't store. So we need to be replenishing our vitamin B resources every single day. And there's a limited amount that we can get through our food. Obviously, there is food very rich in vitamin B, but there's also a lot of contributing factors in our day-to-day life that really saps our vitamin B resources. And it's something that our body doesn't store. I think it's only I might be wrong, I think it's only vitamin B12 that our body does store, and that's in the liver, if I remember correctly. But none of the other B vitamins, so that's why I've got the B vitamin. Scaletium is an amazing adaptogen. It is great for focus, great for anxiety. It's a little serotonin booster. It's honestly incredible. I mean, there's certain periods I don't use it every day, but I use it often. When I know, okay, I've got a lot going on and I'm feeling a little bit of a scatterbrain, monkey mind. Let me just have a Scaletium, and it's literally, you just feel everything go, okay, this is so much more manageable. This is great. And it's amazing. It helps our neurotransmitters just function.
Is that in tincture form?
Mine's in capsule form. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And it's wonderful. I can say the same for Moringa. Moringa is it's like the superfood of superfoods, in my humble opinion. There's over 46 different minerals in Moringa. It's loaded with quercetin, which is really good for hair, skin, nails. It's so overall, and it's really good for vitality. It's just Moringa's fantastic. And mine is a phyto extract, which means that it's 10 times more potent than normal moringa. Because normal moringa supplements, they grind the leaves and the stems and all of that. But if you do a phyto extract, it goes through a different process, and that makes it more potent.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I need to get some moringa
phyto extract.
Because I have moringa, but maybe not phyto.
Yeah.
And
Is it a moringa powder?
I had its capsules, probably with the powder. And then I was doing magnesium. Probably need to get more magnesium as well. And what is your thoughts on Epsom salts, baths? That's a way to get magnesium, right?
Yeah, there is magnesium in that. We also do Epsom salts, actually.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I do. I think it's wonderful. I think it's great. Magnesium, Epsom salts, it's great for tired muscles, general relaxation. It also, just drink lots of water after you have an Epsom salt bath.
Sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's great for everything. There's a reason why people literally throw Epsom salts on their lawns and in their flower beds, because it helps things grow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Does the same for your body.
Fair, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then you asked about the other products. So that's the supplements, and then there's the skincare range, which is all CBD infused. There'll be a new skincare range launching now.
Ooh.
Which I'm very excited about.
We will link it in the description.
Yeah. Literally been working on it for 2 years, so it's like I'm so excited for it.
Yeah,
to be
I was
here.
actually wanting to ask you to bring some products, but I must just buy some products.
I know where you live now, so I'll just send you some. And then there's the superfood range, which I'm equally excited about. 3 different superfood smoothies. I also do a mesquite coffee, which is amazing. Mesquite is wonderful. It's a great coffee alternative. It's extracted from a root, and it's super antioxidant properties, high in fiber, high in lots of different minerals, and it gives you great sustainable energy without the highs and lows that coffee gives you. You can say the same for matcha, but I don't have a matcha, but I do the mesquite. And then I have an omega blend, which is chia seeds and hemp hearts, which is great.
Hemp hearts?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Hemp hearts, from the hemp plant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so if you hull the seeds and then you get the two pieces, those are hemp hearts. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And then there's a bunch of other little products, but that's the main things. It's the supplements, it's the superfoods, and it's the skincare, which is big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is the main different skincare stuff you do? Have a sunblock or sunscreen?
My sunscreen is launching
Okay,
now.
because I need some sunscreen. Okay.
Yeah. Mine's a SPF 50, obviously 100% natural. It's based on Ayurvedic principles.
Wow.
So I love it so much. Ingredients like chamomile and aloe, super soothing. It's also reef friendly, which is very important. And then there's a tissue oil, there's a body lotion. I'm launching a shower gel. I've got the personal lubricant and the lip balm, and there's one more, the deep relief cream.
Wow, is that a massage?
There's a massage oil as well. I forgot to mention that.
Wow.
But the deep relief cream is mainly for aches and pains, if sore joints, maybe you pulled a muscle or something.
Yeah.
So there's lots of ginger and turmeric and all of that in there. It smells amazing. It's a wonderful product, and that's got CBD and CBG in it. It's the only product that's got CBG in it.
What is CBG, CBN, CBD, THC?
Yeah, so they're all different cannabinoids found in the cannabis plant. There's over 140 different cannabinoids, and majority of them are completely unexplored. The main focus has obviously been on CBD and THC, and THC being the psychoactive ingredient, CBD being the one that we normally associate with stress release and pain relief and all of that. But CBG has recently, and I say recently, in the past year or so, been more intensely studied, and they've actually found that to be more potent in CBD in ways of pain relief and even in cancer treatments.
Wow.
Yeah. It's really been the studies out there, it's blown my mind actually, the effects of CBG on helping reverse, like literally reverse cancer, the acceleration of cancer. It's been it's a cool process, and it's cool to know that there's still so much more to be studied.
Very true.
So much more.
Yeah, it's very exciting times. And CBN, do you know anything about CBN?
CBN, I haven't done too much studying about it, to be honest. But I know that is...
I think there's some psychoactive properties.
Yeah.
So that's I think
more
some
brain.
people are concerned.
Yeah.
But where CBG is like a stronger CBD in some ways, so different.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say it's different. They're all different. They're all very different. I think the main question I get asked with the skincare is it going to make me high? And I'm like, no, there's no THC. Like the difference between THC and literally every other cannabinoid is the psychoactive aspect.
And even if it had THC, like, would it be absorbed through the skin the same way as orally? I don't know.
I don't believe so. I don't think you can put on a buddy butter and get high. I don't know. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I mean, I say that our skin is literally our largest organ. So I don't want to say it's impossible. I've never tried it, but yeah. I mean.
What has been the importance of curiosity in your journey of life, or your journey having a business?
Such a good question. I think in a lot of ways, because the things I do is accelerated by curiosity of my own I don't know, physiological workings and those around me, but also the curiosity of like external research and development, medical studies. I'm constantly researching things. It's like I'm fascinated about it. So there's always something. There's always something to learn. There's always some way, whether it is furthering my business on social media, or it's furthering my product development, or furthering how I can connect with other people. Curiosity is probably the most important aspect of growth.
Yeah. And in which ways, or what are you most curious of, or where has your curiosity taken you?
I don't think I've ever regretted being curious about something. I mean, I touched something really hot when I was a kid, and I'll never touch it again. That was out of curiosity, but asking questions, like, I don't think there's any such thing as a stupid question. And it's only got me more knowledge, more wisdom, more street smart. Because I mean, you can be book smart, but I mean, you need to understand the world, and how you fit in it. And I think curiosity's been a big part of my personal journey, because, on a spiritual level especially, like, there's so many different ways that we can look at how we are and why we are the way we are. You can look at astrology, you can look at your love languages, you can look at your human character analysis, you can look at whatever it is, you can look at the way you show up in your relationships, and you'll never be able to learn anything about yourself through that if you aren't curious about the journey, if you're not curious about the outcomes, and if you're not also willing to be unsettled with the feedback or uncomfortable with the feedback. Yeah.
What has been your journey with feedback and maybe mentorship and eldership?
Yeah. Also a good question. Feedback at times can be triggering, because it's like, ooh, I have to acknowledge that about myself.
If it is about you.
Yeah.
I'm just potentially separating what they're criticizing in you, but sometimes, like I said, it's hard to separate. Yeah. I mean, sometimes it can be a projection, of course. But I mean, if someone's giving their honest feedback about something, like in a relationship, someone will go, hey,
when you said that, it really hurt me. I mean, that's honest feedback. That's not them attacking you. And it's up to us to either go, we have two choices in that situation. We can either go, oh my gosh, what I did really hurt this person. How can I own that? Because it's my actions. Or we can go, oh, you're too sensitive, or why always when I do this you do, or whatever. Because a lot of the times that's how things roll out. And it's really hard to take that feedback as constructive and not an attack. Whether it's feedback of how you did in an exam or an oral report, or how your partner, even though your intentions are good, they're telling you what you did actually wasn't so great for them. Feedback's a goodie, and it's up to us what we do with it.
Yeah, and what has been your journey with mentorship? Did you learn from other people to get to where you are? And what would be your advice to someone maybe in your position 10 years prior, or to yourself 10 years ago? And do you see importance in mentoring others and in eldership in general? And is that maybe what you achieved through your workshops?
Yeah, I think mentorship's such a beautiful thing. It's a segue into community. There's always something to learn from other people. I've had amazing mentors show up in my life in strange forms. It's not necessarily like a life coach or some guru. It can be some dude that you met on a train that you had a really inspiring conversation with, and those conversations sit with you, and yeah, it's so important to be open to what other people have to say, and similarly to also, when you know that you have something to offer to a group that they might become better people or they might learn, it's equally important to offer your advice or offer your perspective. Or we've got so much that we can share and learn from each other. It's important to know when to be the student and when to be the mentor. I think that's definitely a thing.
And just to add on to that, I think for me it's like someone may be inspiring or may be able to mentor you in one field, but they might not be a mentor in another field. And it's just understanding what this person possesses that you want, or what knowledge they have that you want, and pick what resonates and take what resonates and learn from different people, different things, and it really gives you a holistic view of life and what resonates with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, two things came to my mind now when you said that, and the one is, our parents will always be our parents, whether we're 5 years old or 45 years old, we'll always be their kids to them. And they'll always want to have a parenting, you're my baby and I want to let me mentor you and let me teach you something. And I'll always listen to my parents. Always. I love them. I think they've been amazing mentors throughout my life in many, many ways. But there are a few times when they talk and I go, okay, I'll listen. I'll definitely listen. But I also don't really know if this is necessarily right, or if this is I don't know if this is your field, because so there are times when it's okay, cool, I'll take what I need from this, and you can say the same for any kind of, lifestyle attribute. I was investigating a lot into Ayurveda at one stage, which is where the inspiration for my sunscreen came, and I was working with a Ayurvedic, she's this incredible guru, she's amazing, and she did a whole analysis of my body, all based on Ayurvedic principles, and she gave me her feedback, and this is what I should be doing, this is how I should be implementing my life, this is how, boom, now I'm living the Ayurveda life, which was a little bit intimidating. And she at one point, and I think she could see this written all over my face, because not only did I have to change everything basically that I ate in a day, but I also had to change my literally my whole life overnight. I'm wait a minute. She could see this written all over my face, and she said, take what you need from this. She says that's the beauty of Ayurveda. It's like, take what you just the even if it's just one thing. And I have so much respect for her for saying that, because this is something that she lives by. She's passionate about, but she also knows that you can't brush everybody with the same paintbrush. And I think that's important. It's very important. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's even a beautiful note to end us off with. Was there any other closing thoughts?Maybe a good final question would be, what is next for you?
Next for me, I mean, I've always got a plan. Immediately, I want to launch my the upcoming Bush Wellness range. That's, I mean, yeah, it's been a thing in the pipeline for a long time, so that's immediately. Following that, I am looking at opening up a wellness center where I want to incorporate all of the different facets and be a space where people can come have workshops and come have their, do yoga and do their, or whatever exercise we're doing for the day, and just bring it all together and just create that space with lots of arts and lots of plants.
Well, yeah, I would love to see you in that space sometime soon.
You're welcome, anytime.
Thank you for coming on the podcast, and be sure to check out her links in the description.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Cheers.